And later, from ordering food online to making Zoom calls, the pandemic has made tech an even bigger part of our lives. We'll tell you about a program that gets seniors up to speed while also teaching a few lessons to their young helpers. You're watching CBS This Morning, Saturday.
That's one use of technology. Then there's the kind we've all been using a little bit more in our daily lives. Up next, how some young people are making sure their elders can take advantage of an increasingly online world, and the lesson the young get in return. You're watching CBS This Morning, Saturday. For many of America's senior citizens, social isolation was a problem long before the pandemic struck. Now, with many confined to their homes, it's become an even greater concern. But the same technology that's helped much of society connect in recent months may offer a partial remedy. And as Barry Peterson reports, some dedicated young people are helping seniors to bridge the digital divide while learning a few lessons of their own.
They had to pull me here kicking and screaming, as my children have said. Mom, we're pulling you into the next century. And I said, I'm just getting used to the last one. But okay, I will come along.
Welcome to 89-year-old Margaret Eichhoff's first ever Zoom call.
So I am learning, and I had a great deal of help from Gen Tech.
Generation Tech was co-founded by Zachary Wang.
So, Zach, how does it feel to hear that even in the age of the coronavirus and people being isolated, you're still helping people reach other people?
Yeah, I think it's quite cool to know that this generation, at least, is being taken care of, and that we can do something in this time for other people.
We're all going to compete in this massive game of trivia.
This is how Generation Tech worked before the pandemic.
Oh, dang it.
You just need to find the red section and tap that.
High school volunteers visiting the Holly Creek retirement community every Saturday.
So if we got that right, hopefully we get a lot of points.
Like Zachary, they come from Cherry Creek High School in nearby Greenwood Village, Colorado. Their mission, introducing the newest technology to the oldest generation.
Do I want Spotify on my computer?
You can actually get it on your computer.
Ed Van Bramer is a retired doctor who sees good health coming from these good deeds.
I think it all is related around stress. The amount of stress that we have living today is one of the causes of the rates of heart disease, strokes, and so forth. High blood pressure and all of those things that go along with the pressure and the stress that everybody faces. So I sign in. The more you do to broaden your knowledge, the more you do to be interactive, the more you do to use your senses, the better things work.
Plus, you get to get rid of the stress of not knowing how to get your printer to work.
Absolutely.
Do you want to try putting it on?
For Ruth Gitzendinner, a first-ever journey using virtual reality.
I got you, too. You're not going to fall.
She hiked Zion National Park.
I'm looking up the side of a mountain and water's running down to the stream over here.
It's like you're there.
Her tour guide was Sissy Laporte.
To watch you kind of explore and have fun with technology is like truly fascinating, and like I love doing it. Like I love volunteering. Press back.
But the two generations have more in common than they may realize. A shared epidemic of loneliness. Older people because spouses or friends have died. Rachel Cohen is director of Linkages, a group promoting activities between young and old to combat social isolation.
Research is showing that the impacts of loneliness is you can equate it to smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Seriously?
Absolutely. It is worse than obesity when we look at it from a physical health perspective.
And surveys show Gen Z, ages 18 to 22, are considered the loneliest Americans, in part because they don't interact with others in person. Does this program help you understand the need for actual people to be actual friends with?
Yeah, so I think that social media gives us this cocoon, this shell. And I think that working with the older adults in Generation Tech, you get to, get into that zone where you're not just focused on yourselves, you're focused on solving that specific, maybe that specific tech problem. But in that process, you're creating those new relationships, you're creating those like bonds that might be surprising to you. And I think that just gives us a whole new perspective on what it means to be able to truly connect with someone, what it means to be able to connect with our society.
The pandemic has made this kind of personal help impossible at the moment, but the work goes on.
Every week we work with residents on their technology issues.
The Generation Tech students hosted a webinar on how to navigate technology and social media.
You just really need to know that not all of it is going to be true. In fact, most of it probably is exaggerated or for shock values.
And there are some lessons that have to be lived to be learned. Like Margaret Eichhoff, who has been listening to her church service by phone and will now attend by Zoom with one big change.
And I'm sure they will all say, you now have to get dressed to come to church on Sunday. You can't come in your pajamas anymore.
For CBS This Morning, Saturday, Barry Peterson, Denver.
What they have been accusing me of.
And I've seen this happen, I've seen it in action in places like Harlem, where at the Kennedy Community Center, you have teenagers working with elders in that community brought together by a women's group called the Greater New York Links. It is just amazing to watch in practice.
I mean, half the time you really do just need somebody to show you how to do it. I know my mom's going to be mad that I'm saying for her, but with her, trying to teach her how to do something, it's hard to tell her over the phone, but there's a way to do it once you get her there. She's
Dana
got
just
that
called out
technology.
Mom on
I did.
TV.
She's good. She's good. She's got Zoom going. She's got it all going. Teaching her how to stream onto her TV.
I bet she knows TikTok.
Oh, gosh. Well, we don't. But
we don't yet.
It really is so much worse right now, though, too, with the pandemic.
Yeah.
Because you have parents and grandparents who are already maybe isolated or alone to begin with and may have lost friends. And then they can't spend time with others during what's happening right now.
That stat, Michelle, we both kind of gasped. I don't know if you did the 15 cigarettes a day, comparing that's what that loneliness factor is like. That's awful. It's just awful. Yeah, the stress of that. Great piece by Barry. Well,